full-time MMA?
MMA.
Nothing
Yeah.
else?
My life, man, yeah.
Back to the daily grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Man, I wanted to do my UFC 217 predictions. I went to look at the fight card and I realized there's another card in between the UFC coming up this next weekend and UFC 217, which is UFC Derek Brunson versus Lyota Machida, the return of Lyota Machida. It's actually a pretty fucking stacked card. It is a fight night card, and it is, I got the date and stuff, October 28th. It's in Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil. So this is a fucking pretty stacked card. I'm just doing the main card as usual. Let's just get fucking started. I want to do my UFC 217 predictions right after this, since the actual full card is announced, the main card. So let's get to it. The first fight of the night starts off John Lineker versus Marlon Chito Vera. After doing the research on this fight, I probably did way more research than I needed to. John Lineker is ranked number 5. Marlon Vera is unranked in the division. John Lineker has way more experience. John Lineker is 27 years old. He's already got fucking 37 fights, 10-3 in the UFC, 6-1 in his last 7 fights. His only loss was to TJ Dillashaw. He's got impressive notable wins over John Dodson, Michael McDonald, and Rob Font. He's fighting Marlon Chito Vera, who's 10-3-1, 4-2 in the UFC. He's 24 years old and he's got notable wins over Brian Kelleher and Brad Pickett, but I just don't think it's going to be his day against John Lineker. Actually, I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about Marlon Vera, but I'm kind of interested to see how he got this fight against the number 5 fucking ranked contender, John Lineker. Because John Lineker, man, he was just fighting TJ Dillashaw. Now he's fighting unranked Chito Vera. I mean, 24 years. I don't know. It's an interesting matchup, but I just think John Lineker's got that one. So I'm picking John Lineker there. Thiago Santos versus Jack Hermansson. Thiago Santos is ranked number 15. In the, what fucking division are these guys in? I know what is Thiago Santos. Who is he just about to fight? He's middleweight, right? Am I fucking tripping? Hold on, dog. I got this shit right here. Yeah, they're middleweight. Okay, I'm not crazy. Alright, yeah. Okay, so Thiago Santos versus Jack Hermansson. Thiago Santos he's on a 2-fight winning spree. Both of them were second-round knockouts over Jack Marshman and Gerald Meerschaert. He's 6-2 in his last 8 fights, and one of those losses was to Gegard Mousasi, which doesn't fucking count because Gegard's the GOAT. And his other one was a first-round submission to Eric Spicely. He got caught. But other than that, Thiago Santos is 6-2 in his last 8 UFC fights. He's 7-4 in the UFC. And he's 15-5 overall, ranked number 15, as I said. And he's fighting Jack Hermansson, who's on a 2-fight first-round knockout spree. So he's won his last 2 fights. Both of them were first-round knockouts over Bradley Scott and Alex Nicholson. I really don't know much about those guys, so I just don't think he's fought the same competition as Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is 33 years old. Jack Hermansson's 29 years old. I guess that's not really notable here. Not a big age difference. Thiago Santos, though, he's got less fights overall than Jack Hermansson, but he's got definitely more UFC experience, and that does matter to me. And he's fought fucking Gegard, man. You gotta learn from that, even if you get fucked up, which hey, can't wait for Gegard. You know he's fighting coming up at the next Bellator card. Gegard's headlining it. Gegard Mousasi versus motherfucking Alexander Shlemenko, and then also on the co-main event is Brendan Ward versus David Caveman Rickles. Fucking, he's a local. He comes from Kansas and shit, so I'm gonna be looking forward to that fight. So I can't wait. I need to do them fucking predictions too. We got a lot of predictions to do. All right, you get the fucking point. Jack Hermansson, 2-fight first-round knockout spree. He had his one loss in the UFC was to Cesar Ferreira. It was a first-round submission, and it was Cesar's first submission since his 2013 submission over Thiago Santos. So Cesar's got 2 submissions in the UFC, and they were over these 2 guys fighting each other. But I'm gonna pick Thiago Santos here because he got more UFC experience and he's fought tougher competition in my mind. And yeah, so Andy's, I'm going with him. Andy's already knocked out one Jack, so he's gonna knock out another. I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I'm picking Thiago Santos to get the win. Next fight, this is probably fight of the night right here. Francisco Trinaldo versus Jim Miller. This definitely has fight in the night potential all over it. Francisco Trinaldo, he's 39 years old, but he's still 7-1 in his last 8 fights. He's like Damian Maia out here. Fucking 7-1 in his last 8 fights. He had a 7-fight win streak snapped by Kevin Lee. He has impressive notable wins over Paul Felder, Yancy Medeiros, Ross Pearson. He's fighting Jim Miller. Okay, but Francisco Trinaldo's record is 21-5. He's 11-4 in the UFC. He started a little late in the UFC, but man, he went on a fucking hell of a streak though. He was on a 7-fight win streak and he fought Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee got him in that fucking the way he won his last 3 fights before he lost to Tony Ferguson the same way, man. Fucking got his back, fucking choked him out. Body triangle, it's over. But this isn't about that. He's fighting Jim Miller, 28-10. Jim Miller's only 34 years old, 17-9 in the UFC. Yo, Jim Miller is so motherfucking experienced, dog. It really, I mean, he's 5 years younger and he's got probably double the UFC fights. Jim Miller's got 38 fights overall. Francisco Trinaldo's got 26. So, I mean, he's just younger, more experienced. Like, every single fucking indicator is pointing toward Jim Miller for me. Like, Jim Miller's 3-2 in his last, I mean, except for like Jim Miller wasn't set on a 7-fight win streak, but that's, who gives a fuck? That's the only thing. Not everything, conventional wisdom, everything's pointing at Jim Miller winning this fight, so I'm definitely going to be picking him. I do like Francisco Trinaldo. Jim Miller's he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's got wins over Takanori Gomi, Joe Lozon, Thiago Alves, losses to Dustin Poirier and Anthony Pettis, but I am going to be picking Jim Miller to get the win here. I mean, if Francisco Trinaldo wins, I would not be surprised. It wouldn't be like, oh my god, a huge upset, but I'm definitely picking Jim Miller to edge out this fight. So with that being said, let's move on to the next fight. Pedro Munoz, number 12 ranked, versus Rob Font, number 13th ranked bantamweights. Both of these guys are 14-2, which is pretty dope. They've got the exact same record. Number 12th ranked, number 13th ranked, which is interesting. This is an interesting dynamic here because you guys are kind of just fighting to fight. I mean, if you're Rob Font, you win, you move up 1 spot. If you're Pedro Munoz and you win, you don't really move up anywhere. It's really just getting the fight out of the way, you know, because it's not like an unranked fighter is moving into the top 15 with a win, or it's not like one of these guys is moving into the top 10 with the win. So it's really just a good fight. They're both 14-2. These guys, Rob Font, man, he's actually doing the research. I think I picked Rob Font, right? Let me go over to the thumbnail. Yeah, I picked Rob Font to win this fight after doing the research. Both of these guys are good, but when I looked at Rob Font's wins and like the tell of the tape and shit, like, or not the tell of the tape, but like the summary, like the striking, takedowns, all that shit at the end of the fights, Rob Font's usually dominating pretty much. Pedro Munoz, he's on a 3-fight win streak over Damian Stasiak, Justin Scoggins, but he was losing that fight and he ended up finishing Justin Scoggins. I forget if it was a knockout or a submission, but Justin Scoggins was winning that fight. He has losses to Jimmy Rivera and Rafael Assunção, so he has the 2 guys he lost to are definitely no fucking slouches. So he's fighting Rob Font though. Rob Font, every one of his wins in the UFC. Okay, let me tell you about Pedro Munoz's UFC record too before I say that. Pedro Munoz, he's 14-2 and he's 4-2 in the UFC with 1 no contest. Rob Font is 4-1 in the UFC. And every one of those wins has been a finish, and he was outstriking every one of those opponents. His only loss in the UFC was to John Lineker, and that's motherfucking John Lineker, who's also on this card. So I'm picking Rob Font. His only loss, I mean, both of these guys' only losses in the UFCs were the motherfucking savages. So that, I mean, that can happen to any, you know, really fucking, come on, John Lineker, Rafael Assunção, and Jimmy Rivera, come on. So this is going to be a great fucking fight to see, you know, who's the real number 12 ranked bantamweight, because winner's number 12. But so I'm definitely looking forward to this fight. I'm gonna be picking Rob Font. Can't honestly say I remember any of these guys' fights just off the top of my head that I've watched. But yeah, looking at the stats and the summaries and doing the research, I got Rob Font. So we're going to the co-main event now. Motherfucking Damian Maia versus Colby Covington. Man, if you like gay porn, no, I'm just playing. But this is going to be a grappling match. I'm telling you, dog. Grappling. There's going to be a lot of grappling. This is where if you have friends that are casual or boxing people or they like striking, have them go out, fucking smoke break, do something, go do something during this fight, because this is not going to be entertaining to a lot of people. I'm fine with these fights. I'm going to be watching it. But, tell you, dog, Colby Covington has 20 takedowns in his last 2 fights. You hear that? 20 takedowns in his last 2 fights. This dude is a wrestler extraordinaire, wrestlefucker extraordinaire. I mean, if you want to talk about wrestlefucking, let's talk Colby Covington. And he's not been making a good name for himself out here in these MMA streets. On these MMA airwaves, man, he's been coming out and trying to expose his former teammate Tyron Woodley. Whenever Tyron Woodley was into it with Dana White, this is the guy that said, "Don't worry, Dana White, I got some dirt on Tyron that'll ruin his whole life. He's got more skeletons in his closet than War Machine and shit." This is that guy. This is Ratatouille, as Barry Walters likes to say. Or is it Kevin Terry? Either way, you know who I'm talking about. One of you motherfuckers, hey, every time I'm telling you, shit is hilarious. But anyway, so Colby Covington's coming out, man. To me, that shit sounded whack. You wasn't even in this beef. Why the fuck are you coming in here and talking about, especially somebody you trained with? You might have heard a secret in the locker room. You might have talked to another teammate that told you something and they didn't think, you was gonna be fucking running around and using that against him in the future. I don't know. That just sounds corny as fuck to me. So, with that being said, Damian Maia, we know Damian Maia's game plan. We know what he wants to do. Shit. It's funny. Damian Maia, he was trying to take Tyron down, trying to take Jorge Masvidal down. That's my Damian Maia's game plan. Try and get you down, choke you out. Well, this is a guy that wants to go to the ground with you. So this fight's gonna be on the ground. You don't gotta worry about too much striking. You don't gotta worry about a knockout in this fight. This is gonna be a decision or a submission. Now, the thing is Colby Covington's jiu-jitsu skills strong enough to keep Damian Maia away from the submission? Jorge Masvidal's defensive jiu-jitsu was enough. He trains with Jorge Masvidal. Tyron Woodley was able to stuff Damian Maia's takedowns. So I don't know if Damian Maia is going to be able to take Colby Covington down, but I don't think he's going to have to. Colby Covington, I think, is going to be getting the takedowns in this fight. Now, will Damian Maia be able to reverse the position while they're on the floor, do what he needs to do to maybe submit him from the bottom? Or is Colby Covington just going to, try and hold him down and stifle it, make it a boring fight and just keep Damian Maia from advancing position and shit and just try and hold him down? I mean, I'm picking Colby Covington to win this fight. Let's get a little more into the stats, though. Damian Maia is 39 years old. Colby Covington's 29 years old. So Damian Maia is 10 years. Colby Covington's elder. Damian Maia is 7-1 in his last 8 fights, and he had a 7-fight win streak snapped as well, just like Francisco Trinaldo in his last fight. And it was by Tyron Woodley. So Tyron Woodley, he has notable wins, though, over Jorge Masvidal, which was a split decision. Carlos Condit, Matt Brown, Gunnar Nelson, Neil Magny. Damian Maia has been taking out contenders for a long time, man. He just lost to Tyron Woodley, and in that fight, every single takedown got stopped. I believe it was 23 or 24 of them. It didn't look good. But at the same time, that's Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley, if he sets his mind to not letting you get any takedowns, you probably ain't getting no fucking takedowns. But I don't know, Colby Covington might be able to get one on his ass, because Colby Covington, holy shit, his last 2 fights, 20 takedowns. In his last 4 fights, 31 takedowns. He had like 12 takedowns in his last fight, 8 in the fight before that, 5 in the fight before that, 6 in the fight before that. This nigga is taking people down, and it's not in an exciting fashion. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the last fight I watched Colby Covington was WrestleFuck Spree. I think that was the one where he scored 12 takedowns. Like, I remember that fight. Who was it against? All I know is this dude's wrestling is on fleek. He's got that tyrant beef. Who was his fucking last win again? Oh, Brian Barberina and Stun Gun Kim. His last fight was against Stun Gun Kim. I'm pretty sure that was on Fight Pass, and I watched that shit. Yeah, I think. So, he's fought Brian Barberina and Stun Gun Kim in his 4-fight win streak. Those are 2 of his most notable wins, I believe. But his fucking wrestling, dog, is on fleek. So, I don't know, man. Damian Maia could very easily get a submission here. That wouldn't surprise me if Damian Maia wins this fight, but I'm picking Colby Covington to win this because he's been working his way, man, to a title shot, and I think his wrestling, man, even if it's gonna make for a boring fight, because Colby Covington's actually, you know, Jorge Masvidal came up from lightweight, even though he's a welterweight. You know, Jorge Masvidal with the Performance Institute and a nutritionist, and if he thought he wasn't going to get robbed by the judges anymore, might be fighting at lightweight, and he was able to stifle Damian Maia enough to not get submitted. Now Damian Maia was able to hit him with that backpack, you know, hop on his back, ride him out, but he couldn't get the submission. So I don't believe Colby Covington's going to get submitted here, and I think Damian Maia's only path to victory here is a submission, and I'm not 100% sure Colby Covington's jiu-jitsu. I don't know if he's a black belt or brown belt, what the fuck he is. I know he's a really strong wrestler, and I also know that he's trained with Tom Woodley and Jorge Masvidal, both people who have had success against Damian Maia. Relative success when we talk about Jorge Masvidal. It was a split decision, but he didn't get submitted. He did, I think, a lot better than a lot of people thought. So, I'm gonna pick Colby Covington to win this fight, as much as I really don't want him to win it. I mean, I'm not too much of a fan of Colby Covington. I'm entertained by the nonsense, but I can't say I'm a fan of it. You know what I'm saying? It's entertaining. It would add to the drama. Like if he wins this fight, and then maybe fights someone else, he might be fighting Tyron next, and that'll be, you know, all this fucking beef with him coming, jumping in and talking about exposing Tyron and all this shit. Tyron's gonna be wanting to shut his ass up, motherfucking wire that jaw shut for talking all this shit with one of them fucking rights. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that would be a pretty big fucking fight, but he would have to get through Damian Maia, and Dana White also did say the winner of Robbie Lawler and RDA gets the title shot, but you know how that goes. So with that being said, is that the last fight? Fuck no, there's a main event. We got Derek Brunson versus Lyota Machida, the return of the dragon. Ooh, but Derek Brunson, man. Derek Brunson. I don't know why he's not as much on my radar as I feel like he should be, because Derek Brunson is a beast, man. He's really fucking good. I don't know why he just doesn't stick out to me as much. I like him. What he was doing before he lost to Robert Whittaker was super fucking dope. He was on like a 4-fight first round knockout spree. It was 4 fights, all 4 of them were knockouts, and all 4 of them was in the first round. So he got overzealous versus Robert Whittaker, going for that 5th knockout in the first round, and he ended up getting knocked out in the first round by Robert Whittaker, who turned out to be, as he found out, a very, very game opponent, because Robert Whittaker is now the interim champion, waiting to fight the winner of George St. Pierre and Michael Bisping. Robert Whittaker has since taken out Jacare and Yoel Romero. So Robert Whittaker's that dude, and he was the dude to end Derek Brunson's winning streak. And then Derek Brunson also fought Anderson Silva, which was controversial as fuck. Even if you go to the UFC website and look at the stats, Derek Brunson landed more strikes and more takedowns that fight, and he still lost the decision, which snapped Anderson Silva's 4-fight losing streak, or else he would have been on a 5-fight losing streak. So, I mean, I don't know. That's... you know, I think it was even in Brazil, so I mean, I don't know what the fuck happened there, but Derek Brunson probably really won that fight. So with that being said, let's get into a little bit of the stats on this fight. I mean, Lyota Machida, he's a fucking legend of the sport, you know what I'm saying? He's probably going in the Hall of Fame. He's returning from an 18-month suspension. I was looking into the suspension and seeing if it was like a steroid and all of that. Of course, everybody denies it and all of that shit, but I mean, USADA was pretty convinced, so he got an 18th-month suspension. He hasn't fought since June of 2015. He wasn't eligible to fight until October, so he's fighting as soon as he's eligible, because it's October, and this dude's about to fight in a couple weeks. So he's lost 20th. He lost to some. I don't know what the fuck I wrote. He's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. 2-fight winning streak or fucking losing. Oh, this fucking shit right here, dog. My bad. He's on a 2-fight losing streak to Yoel. Oh, I had Yale. I forgot the O or something. Typo. Lyota Machida's on a 2-fight losing streak to Yoel Romero and Luke Rockhold. Then he had a win before that to over CB Dalloway. Then he lost a title fight to Chris Weidman before that. So he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. He hasn't fought since 2014. He is 39 years old, as well as Damian Maia. Hey, this is a pretty cool little. Is Francisco Trinaldo 39 as well? Do we got 3 39-year-olds on the card? Lyota Machida, Damian Maia. Is Francisco Trinaldo 39 as well? I think he is. Let me see. And we're in Brazil. Are these all 39-year-old Brazilians? Let me see. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Fun fact. There's 3 39-year-old fighters on this card. Am I picking any of them to win? Dun, dun, no. Oh, that's awkward. I wouldn't want to be in that crowd. Hey, I could be wrong, though. So, I'm picking Derek Brunson to win this fight. This is going to be low-key. I don't know. Like, I think these guys are coming to take the torch tonight. I mean, Derek Brunson, if he beats Lyota Machida, I mean, dude, Derek Brunson's only losses on his record is pretty impressive. The only guys that he's lost to, he's the only, and he's, you know, he takes guys, you can tell, because he fought fucking Yoel Romero like in the beginning of his UFC career type shit. Okay, so listen to Derek Brunson's only UFC losses. Jacare Souza in 2012. Oh, that was Strikeforce right before he joined the UFC. Okay, so his only losses are to Yoel Romero, Anderson Silva, which he didn't really lose, and Robert Whittaker. So in the UFC, if you don't count Anderson Silva, he's only lost to Robert Whittaker and Yoel Romero. And his Yoel Romero fight was his first. It was his 3rd fight in the UFC in 2014. He came in the UFC in 2012, and he's already fought like however many times. Derek Brunson, I like him, man. I don't know if it's because he's not very outspoken on the mic or what it is that he's not on my radar really, even though I know who he is. I know he's a beast. I don't know if it's because he's taken a couple losses which took the steam out or what, but I like him. But for some reason, he's just not like dinging on my radar. I don't know what the feeling is I'm getting, but I don't know what, maybe because he doesn't have the win over a name like Lyota Machida or the Anderson Silva, even though he probably, I mean, fuck, I'll say he beat Anderson Silva. He should have beat Anderson Silva. It's a loss on his record. So with that being said, I'm picking him to win. Lyota Machida, he hasn't fought in 2 years. I mean, whatever he got banned for, whether it was for healing purposes, weight, whatever the fuck he was using it for, he can't use it anymore. So I don't know how that's gonna affect him. 39 years old, Derek Brunson. How old is Derek Brunson? I know he's younger than 39. And like I said, he was knocking motherfuckers out in a row. He's only 33. So Derek Brunson, and he got back to his first round knockout ways in his last fight. He lost to Anderson Silva, and then he knocked out Daniel Kelly in the first round. So he's back to his first round knockout ways. He might start it back up on fucking, who knows, he might knock out Lyota Machida in the first round and start that spree back up, because if you take out the Anderson Silva fight, man, his knockout spree was just a Robert Whittaker fight away. So I've said enough about that fight, really. I mean, that one, not really the hardest one for me to pick on this card. I do like Lyota Machida. He's a legend of the sport, as I said. But, I mean, who knows what the fuck's going to happen here, dog. And this fight is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It is 1 week after the next week's fight card, which is you know what it is, goddammit. I'm trying to get to these UFC 217 Oh, Darren Till versus Cowboy Cerrone, and it's a Fight Pass card. Alright, this is Fox Sports 1. That one's Fight Pass. UFC 217 is pay-per-view. I can't fucking wait for every one of these cards. As usual, it is what it is. Let the hit know what the fuck you tell me in the comments. I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.